Hi there, wonderful awakening beings and spiritual souls. Jo Rose of JoRose.com, numerologist and energy forecaster. And in this video, I'm going to be dealing with a number of topics, but the main topic was why and how I got into numerology. And I start by thanking each and every one of you for your support, your comments, your personal messages, your inquiries, your questions in how I did it, how can I support you, and how can you better understand yourself. So let me begin. First of all, it was about asking better questions. And I accidentally fell on this when I realised whatever I was doing in my life just wasn't working. So I found that I felt stuck, I became sick, I felt alone, isolated, disconnected, and twice I almost took my own life. I was suicidal. I couldn't understand this. I was I believed, a giving, considerate, compassionate person, and yet I felt like everybody just they weren't there for me. My energy would be drained, and as much as I was there to support everybody else, it did not reflect back for me. I was tired of the system. The system was failing me. So I had to look for ways to working this out. At this point in my life, prior to this point in my life, I felt like I could be, do and have anything. And I educated myself to the extent I needed, but my passion was, just get out there in the world and make your dreams happen. And I got on the property ladder at 19, I had my own car at 19, and I was I even had a little moped as well, and I was generally doing things I wanted. I was travelling and partying and eating out in different locations and living an absolutely fabulous lifestyle. I worked myself up by rolling up my sleeves. I wasn't university educated, and I quit my A-levels because I just couldn't understand the system I was in, where I was all over the place. So moving on, I get to a point where I want to be a mother, and being a mother wasn't a simple process. It took 4 years, and that's a whole different story. I became a mother, and I had these 3 wonderful babies that grew into toddlers and eventually teenagers, now currently child adults. And all the way through the system, I met one challenge after another, and I just felt that it didn't matter who I turned to, there were no answers. That included my ex-husband, as we end up getting divorced, and that wasn't probably his choice. Well, it definitely wasn't his choice. It was my choice, but I would never have made the choice if I had felt connected and supported. I turned to the NHS, to the medical profession for help, and I went through all forms of therapies and cognitive behaviours and chats and counselling and everything else, but still I could not find the answer. Eventually I started to study life coaching, and I only fell into that because I was doing interior design and helping people with their homes, and found they had so much clutter, and what was it all about? Emotional baggage. And the more I kept feeling that it was this emotional challenge, this emotional baggage that was stopping people moving forward, making people hold on to things, I began to investigate. When I enrolled for my coaching course, I also enrolled for a counselling course and an NLP course. NLP was the biggest point of change. When I understand NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, I realised it was about the words that we heard or we fed ourselves, and we have to be careful what we say. So what did this do? I realised that the normal system wasn't helping me, and so I started on a personal development path. And the personal development path was great. It was positive, it was high five, up and out there. But why didn't I feel happy? Why didn't I feel content? Why didn't I feel like I was blossoming and blooming? At this point, I'm single with 3 children, and they see their father, but we're not connected, the father and I, and we're certainly parenting and living in 2 different directions. You know, people come into your life for a reason, a season, and most people don't stay forever. But the one person that stays forever is you. I'm the one person that's been with me 24/7, every moment of this life, past lives, and future lives. So the personal growth industry was great to a point, but I became very disillusioned in it. So I moved on to spiritual growth. Maybe there was more understanding in this spiritual growth world. And at first, yeah, I got it, and I was like full of it, just like I was with the personal growth world. And then again, I found that this conflicted back to my emotions. You know, you had teachers or students telling you that you needed to be more compassionate, more self-aware, more spiritual, and let go of the ego. You know, why is the ego taking over? All sorts of things that made me feel worse. And again, it was all about this positive way of being, you know, love everyone, forgive everyone, and so on. And I still didn't get it. And one day I end up on a heap in my kitchen floor, my eat, pray, love moment. It seriously, if you've not read the book, please do. Don't ruin it. Don't watch the film. Read the book. But in the book, at one point, she ends up, I believe in her case, it was her bathroom floor, but mine was my kitchen floor, which I just ended up there in a heap, sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. You know, what is it that I'm missing? What is it that I don't understand? Why can't I feel connected? Why can't I feel supported? Why can't I feel empowered as I'd been empowering other people? Why did I not feel supported? And I said this as I sobbed over and over. All I want is to be supported. Why can't I find someone to support me the way I was supporting them? And this little voice went, so when is now the time? And I'm like, what do you mean, when is now the time, to this voice? And the voice said, when is now the time? If you're the best supporter, when will you support you? And I was like, but I've been doing my best to do this. And the voice said, no, you haven't. And I was like, well, how can I do this? And the voice said, pick yourself up, dust yourself down, go for a drive, be open. Be open to ways and means that you hadn't discovered before, that you didn't know. My saying that I go by, my mantra is, you don't know what you don't know. And so I picked myself up, I dusted myself off, because, you know, I sat there, the thought of the suicide, and in one breath, I felt like the pain of dying was going to be shorter than the pain of living. But then I thought, if it's all about life and the present, why didn't I see this as a gift? And so I got up, went in my car and went for a drive. And on the drive, I just stopped in a local area, and there was a second-hand bookshop. And I went in there to get a couple of self-help books. Found two that I wanted. Nobody came in the shop. Nobody went out the shop. And it was the little old lady, the mother of the owner, was in the shop just dusting her counter down. And I'd gone to the back of the shop, picked my two books up, turned around, looking at my books, walked forward and tripped over a book. And I was like, oh, how did that book get there? Nobody had come in, nobody had gone out, nobody had moved, just me. And I picked the book up, and it had landed face down. And so when I picked the book up, I turned it over to see where I could put it on the right shelf, and I saw it said something about numerology. Now, numerology had come to me before, but do you know what? And I'm going to pick this language. It might as well have been Russian or Greek or anything for that matter. I'm not very good with languages, even though a part of my energy has a 5 and I should be good with languages. I just wasn't, and I never understood this numerology. But I had time on my meter, so I opened the book and checked out my life path. When I read my life path, I was like, oh, wow, oh my gosh, that explains so much. So then I did my expression number. And I read my expression number, and I was even more kind of like, oh, wow. And the third number I read was my heart's desire number. And when I got that, I was like, How much is this book? Now, I've been on personal development courses. I've been on all sorts of courses to understand me, to run a business, all of these things, but nothing was working. And I had spent thousands, tens, almost 100,000 in educating myself. This book was £4.50, secondhand, £4.50. I'm going to tell you now, I was in the right place at the right time. I had asked in my eat, pray, love moment to show me a way. I was going to be open to ways of learning that I hadn't learnt before. And I don't mean the fact that I learnt the numerology, but it was the fact that I was now going to step back, stop controlling everything, and allow myself to get in flow. And what I discovered with the numerology, as I took the book and I worked through it to understand my life, my family's life, my friend's life, and anybody that happened to want to just divulge their date of birth and their name, was to tell them things about themselves that they said, wow, it's like you've had a video camera on me my whole life. So I started my journey with the numerology and would just do it for free, for fun, for inspiration, for me to grow, to learn it. But it wasn't just about the numerology, because understanding this, and when you understand it, numerology gives you permission to be you. However, you're not at your day of birth right now, and you have lived a life without knowing this information. We have been trained in a system that causes us to be left brain logical thinkers, or followers for that matter. What the numerology had given me the insight to was what happened to intuition, what happened to the right brain thinking. Well, if you think about it, in education, in school, we can only do 1, maximum 2 creative topics. Why? Oh my gosh, because why would we feed the right side of the brain? Why would we feed the imagination? Why would we feed the creativity when what we want is factory workers and soldiers? It doesn't serve our kids now. You know, we've moved on and the education system needs to change. Numerology is one of the oldest education systems. It's 11,000 years old, and Pythagoras modernized it 2,600 years ago. So I found that the numerology was great, but I was still struggling. I was still dealing with my emotions, and my health was just still going down, down, down. You name the autoimmune challenges I had. I was classed as depressed. I was on a watch list for suicide. Endless illnesses, and I can tick them. I've got them as labels, as pamphlets, as whatever they are. And I realised that the numerology showed me my path, where I was meant to be going. And my ill health arrived because I was not connected with my emotions, and they've caused me to fall off path. And so I needed to not only listen to my numerology, which is one part of what I do, but I needed to listen to my emotions so that I could regain my energy, recover my health, and become more energized and vibrant into sharing. For me, doing these videos was way out of my comfort zone, and I'm not always raring to go when I go on one. But the more I own myself, the more I embrace who I am, the more I empower myself to go within and find out who I am with the help of the numerology, because to go within with the spiritual church, I still couldn't get it. But the numerology was the guidebook to who I am. And numerology is the guidebook to who you are. Now, we can read book after book after book about what it is, but you need to read the book about you. That's the first book you need to read. And then when you know you and what your destiny is about, then you can start embracing the books and the topics and be in the right place at the right time, doing the things that empower you. What makes my numerology the way it is, and yes, I talk about the number, I've come from a place where I want to empower people. I'd always empowered people, but I disempowered myself in the process. And now I realise that in order for me to connect with you or the person you pass me on to is for me to show you how empowering works, for me to become an inspiration so that you too could become an inspiration. Because when we become an inspiration, it ripples out. It's like the sunshine that's out there today. It energizes us, and people know energy. Everything is energy. And that's why I'm an energy forecaster. And that's why I want to empower you so you can ripple out, that you can shine. And the reason why I say it's your life, LYFE, because it's all about loving yourself first every day. My business name, well, it is joerose.com, but it's also the Foundations for Life. I called it the Foundations for Life, spelt the normal way originally, because these are the foundations for life. But I've since changed it because the Foundations for Life are firstly about loving and honouring you. And there's no better way to start than understanding your numerology. So the first book that I read was just the start of it. I've got many, many books, and perhaps I shall make a link to some of the books that I've read, numerology and non-numerology. I've seen that there's such a thing as BookTube, and I'm so excited because I've gone through, I must have hundreds of books on various topics that will cover 1 to 9 of all the numbers, and many of them are spiritual growth books that help you understand who am I and why am I here. And in this video I just shared with you, I believe when I looked at my life path, which is a 22-4, and we look at this, I'm here to turn dreams into reality. Not just my own, but I'd love to help you turn your dreams into reality. If you want to know more, then maybe contact me for a reading or work for a consultation. Stay tuned. Please subscribe. Press that notification bell so you can learn more. I do regularly videos on the energy forecast for the universe. I've done your personal year videos. I'm doing a series at the moment on the life path lessons. This is the most important part. What are you here to grow and expand in? And I'm going to start my BookTube, because I mention books and I mention films in my videos, but let's see how they can empower you. If you've got any questions, you want to connect with me, please do. Find me on Facebook, find me on my webpage, www.joerose.com. Ask me a question, have a reading. It's your life. Take hold of it now. Love yourself, own your power, and let's move forward together, united to make the world a better place. Thank you for watching, and I hope this has helped you understand more of why, and many of you say I'm so passionate about my topic, but why I am so passionate about my topic. See you in my next video.